Lara's handwriting was better than mine, which is the only reason I agreed to deliver the letter in the first place. Turns out that's also the reason everything fell apart. I was 17, painfully unremarkable in the specific way you only understand later was actually kind of a superpower. I could walk through the halls of Brannigan High without anyone clocking me, which meant I heard things, saw things, existed in this useful invisible layer just under the radar of anyone who mattered socially. Lara Ohatsu was my best friend, had been since we were assigned lab partners in ninth grade biology and bonded over a shared hatred of dissecting frogs. And by junior year she had developed what I can only describe as a full-blown, all-consuming, borderline unwell crush on Ronan Vance. If you didn't go to a school like ours, I need to explain Ronan properly, because he wasn't just popular, he was one of those rare kids who seemed engineered by some cosmic committee to be liked captain of the swim team, genuinely funny instead of just loud, the kind of guy who remembered the names of freshmen and said hi to them in the hallway like it cost him nothing. Everyone had a theory about Ronan. Lara's theory was that he was destined to fall in love with her the moment he actually looked at her properly, and her plan to make that happen involved a 4-page letter she'd been drafting for 3 weeks, which she asked me to deliver because, and I'm quoting her exactly, "If I hand it to him myself I will actually die, Finn, I will just die on the spot." "Why can't you just talk to him like a normal person?" I said, holding the letter like it might detonate. "Because normal people don't have 3 years of feelings to unload, they have normal amounts of feelings. This requires a letter. This requires therapy. Finn." Fine, I'll deliver the stupid letter. I want to be clear that I had no ulterior motive at this point. I liked guys, I'd known that about myself since around age 13, told exactly 2 people, Lara being one of them, and my policy on the whole thing was to keep my head down and get through high school without incident. Ronan Vance existing in my orbit was purely incidental. I noticed him the way you notice weather, present, occasionally remarkable, not something you had feelings about. The plan was simple. Slip the letter into his locker between 3rd and 4th period. No name on the envelope because Lara had chickened out of signing it directly. Just for you written in her careful cursive with the actual signature inside at the bottom of the letter, where, and this is the detail that ruined everything, she'd also written underneath her name, a small joke she and I had going, an inside reference from a dumb meme we'd both found funny that week, something only the 2 of us would understand. Except she'd forgotten, in the emotional chaos of writing a love letter, that she'd basically buried a signature that could be traced back to me instead of her. I slipped the letter into his locker exactly as planned. What I did not plan for was Ronan Vance finding me at lunch 2 days later, sliding into the seat across from me at my mostly empty table like it was the most natural thing in the world, holding the letter, looking somewhere between nervous and something I couldn't read yet. "Hey," he said, "can we talk?" I remember feeling my stomach drop straight through the cafeteria floor. Sure. He set the letter on the table between us, and I saw immediately, with the specific horror of watching a disaster you caused unfold in real time, that he'd circled the inside joke, the one only Lara and I would know, and written a small question mark next to it. "I wasn't sure at first," he said, "but then I remembered you made that same joke in English class, the thing about the raccoon, and I put it together. It's you, right? You wrote this?" There's a very specific kind of silence that happens when your brain is trying to process too many possible responses at once and lands on none of them. I sat there, mouth slightly open, absolutely nothing coming out, and Ronan apparently read that silence as confirmation, because his whole face changed, softened, got this cautious, hopeful look that I had genuinely never seen him wear before. "I've actually kind of noticed you too," he said, quieter now, glancing around like he didn't want anyone else to hear. "For a while, honestly, I didn't know you were even into guys, so I never let myself think about it seriously, but if this is real, I want you to know I've thought about it. A lot, actually. I need you to understand the sheer number of things going wrong in my head at that exact moment. Lara's letter. Lara's crush, 3 years in the making. My best friend's entire emotional investment, sitting on the table between us, is about to be catastrophically misattributed to me because of one stupid inside joke and my own inability to form a coherent sentence under pressure. Ronan, You don't have to say anything back right now," he said quickly, misreading my panic as shyness. I wanted you to know it's not one-sided, that's all. I've been kind of hoping you'd say something for a while actually, I just didn't think it'd be a letter." He got up, gave me this small, genuinely warm smile and left, and I sat there completely frozen, the letter still on the table. my best friend's entire heart sitting in an envelope that now had a question mark and a circled joke written on it in blue pen, and the golden boy of Brannigan High walking away thinking I loved him. I should have corrected it immediately, I know that. I've replayed that lunch 100 times since, and every single time the obvious right move was to chase him down the hallway and say, "It wasn't me, it was my friend, I delivered it for her, there's been a huge mistake." Instead, I sat there for a full 10 minutes doing absolutely nothing. And by the time I found my legs again, the moment had passed, and a much worse problem had already started forming, which is that some traitorous, quiet part of me, the part I usually kept locked down tight, had felt something when he said, "I've actually kind of noticed you too," something warm and unwelcome and deeply inconvenient. I told Lara that night sitting on her bedroom floor, watching her face go through about 6 different expressions in the span of 10 seconds. "He thinks it's from you." I panicked, I didn't correct him fast enough, and now it's been a whole day and it feels insane to bring it up now. "Finn," she said my name like a warning, "you have to fix this." "I know." "Like immediately, tomorrow first thing." "I know, Lara, I'm going to." I did not fix it tomorrow, or the day after, partly because every time I tried to find him alone he was surrounded by people, and partly, if I'm being fully honest, because some cowardly part of me kept finding reasons to delay it. Because for the first time in my quiet, invisible high school existence, someone like Ronan Vance was looking at me in the hallway like I mattered, and I didn't know how to give that up before I even understood what it felt like to have it. It came to a head about a week later when he found me after school by the bike racks alone, no crowd to hide behind this time. "You've been avoiding me," he said, not accusing, just observing. "I haven't been avoiding you." "Finn, you have, I'm not mad, did I misread something? Because if I did, I'd rather know now than keep making it weird for you." This was it, this was the moment to say the true thing, and I opened my mouth fully intending to, and what came out instead was, "You didn't misread anything," which was in the narrowest, most technical sense true. He hadn't misread the letter. The letter was completely legible and clear, he just misattributed its author. But I knew even as I said it that I was choosing a lie of omission because the alternative meant losing something I'd only just discovered I wanted. His whole face relaxed. "Okay, good, I thought I'd messed something up." He leaned against the bike rack, hands in his pockets, something easier in his posture now. "Can I ask you something? Why didn't you ever say anything before the letter? We've had like 3 classes together over the years." "I didn't think you'd notice me," I said, and that part at least was completely true. "I noticed you," he said. "I just didn't know what to do with noticing you for a long time. This is kind of a first for me, admitting I like a guy. I've thought about it before in the back of my head, but I never had a reason to actually say it out loud until your letter kind of forced my hand." Every word he said made the lie heavier and harder to walk back, because I could hear how much courage it had taken him to say any of it, and some selfish, hungry part of me didn't want to be the reason that courage turned out to be pointed at the wrong person entirely. We started spending time together after that, not officially anything, just walks after school, texting that stretched later into the night than either of us probably should have allowed on a school night. And every single day the guilt sat heavier in my chest because Lara had noticed, of course she'd noticed, and one afternoon she cornered me in the library and said, flat, hurt in a way I'd never heard from her before, "You like him. For real. Don't lie to me, Finn, I've known you since 9th grade, I can tell." "Lara, just say it." "I think I do," I admitted, and watching her face crumble was one of the worst things I'd experienced in 17 years of being alive. "I didn't mean for this to happen. I was supposed to fix it and I didn't, and then it turned into this whole thing and I don't know how to undo it without hurting both of you." "You should have fixed it the first day," she said, voice shaking. "You had the chance and you didn't take it because you wanted it for yourself." I didn't have a defense for that because it was true, and I sat there and let her be angry because she'd earned the right to be and I'd earned every ounce of it. I told Ronan the truth 3 days later in the parking lot after school, my hands shaking so badly I had to keep them jammed in my pockets to hide it. "The letter wasn't mine," I said, no preamble, because I was scared that if I built up to it slowly I'd lose my nerve entirely. "It was Lara's, my friend. She wrote it, I delivered it for her because she was too nervous to do it herself, and there was this joke inside it that only she and I would know, and you saw it and assumed it was me, and I should have corrected you the second it happened, and I didn't because I liked how it felt when you looked at me like that, and I'm sorry, that's an awful reason, but it's the true one." He was quiet for a long time, long enough that I started genuinely fearing I just destroyed the only good thing that had happened to me all year. "Okay," he said finally, "that's a lot to take in. I know. So none of what's happened the last few weeks was real, on your end?" "No, it was real," I said quickly. "That's the whole problem. It became real somewhere in the middle of the lie, and I didn't know how to say that without also confessing I'd let my best friend's heartbreak just sit there unaddressed for weeks because I was too scared to lose what it had accidentally turned into." He looked at me for a long moment, working through something, and I braced for him to walk away, to decide the whole thing was too complicated, too tangled up in someone else's pain to be worth continuing. "I need to think," he said, "not about whether I like you, I do, that part hasn't changed, but about the fact that you let this go on for weeks knowing what it was costing your friend, that matters, I need to sit with that." He walked away and I stood in that parking lot feeling like I'd finally told the truth and lost everything anyway, which is its own specific, miserable kind of consequence. The next 2 weeks were some of the worst of my life. Lara barely spoke to me, our friendship reduced to short, clipped exchanges in the hallway, and Ronan gave me space that felt less like anger and more like genuine, careful thought, which was somehow harder to sit with than if he'd just been furious. I spent most of that time trying to fix things with Lara, showing up at her locker every day even when she didn't want me there, writing my own letter badly, nowhere near as beautifully as hers, apologizing for exactly what I'd done and exactly why it was wrong, not making excuses, just nomming it plainly. It took her almost 3 weeks to really talk to me again, and even then it was cautious, guarded in a way our friendship had never been before. "I'm not saying it's okay," she told me, sitting on her bedroom floor again, the same spot as that first awful night. "I'm saying I understand why it happened, and I'm choosing to still want you as my friend because 6 years is a lot to throw away over one bad decision, even a really bad one. I don't deserve that." "Probably not," she said with the ghost of her old humor finally cracking through, "but I'm choosing it anyway, don't make me regret it." Ronan found me again about a month after that parking lot conversation in almost the same spot by the bike racks, like the whole thing had come full circle. "I talked to Lara," he said, which surprised me enough that I just stared at him. "I wanted to hear her side directly, not just yours. I hope that's okay." "What did she say?" "That you'd been a genuinely good friend for 6 years before this, and that one mistake, even a bad one, didn't erase that, and that she was still figuring out how she felt about the two of us, but that she didn't want to be the reason it never got a chance to be real if it was actually real." He looked at me, something careful and searching in his expression. "Is it actually real? I mean, not an accident of it, the truth of it." "Yeah," I said, and this time there was no hesitation in it, no fear of what admitting it might cost, because I'd already paid the cost and I wasn't willing to waste it. "It's real. It became real somewhere in the middle of a lie I should never have told, and I know that's a complicated place for something good to come from, but it's still good. It's still true." "Okay," he said, slow, like he was testing the shape of a decision. "Then I want to actually try, for real this time. No inside jokes I misread, no letters, just you telling me the truth from here on out, even when it's hard." "Especially when it's hard," I said. "I learned that part the hard way." We started again from there, slower this time, more honest, both of us carrying the weight of how it had begun into how carefully we tried to build what came after. Lara eventually became something like okay with it, more than okay, actually, once enough time had passed that the sting wore down into something she could hold without it hurting. And she was there, 2 years later, at my high school graduation, standing next to Ronan, both of them cheering loud enough that I heard them clearly over everyone else in that enormous gym. I think about that letter a lot, the one that was never meant to be about me at all, the small inside joke that rerouted an entire chapter of my life onto a path I never planned for and didn't deserve to walk without earning it first. It taught me something I don't think I could have learned any easier way, that the truth costs something no matter when you tell it, but it costs far less than the version of yourself you become while avoiding it.